Greetings, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a video that, dare I say, is some good news for a change versus some of the forum posts we've talked about this week, which have been mixed. We've had, I think, some really good posts with the transparency of their game engine and future compensation of some, I would say, medium regard, not super small, but not super big. And then we've also seen forum posts that trigger a lot of people when it comes to potentially nerfing certain abilities of champions that, shall we say, are not really going to make people happy. And then, of course, you've got the other post, which is Kabam flat out saying in the future they're going to ban certain champions as attackers, which I think is a crazy slippery slope. But this post is kind of the best scenario or best example I've seen of somebody who's upset going through the right channels of communication and in the end kind of being rewarded for it. I'm not saying that what ends up happening at the end of this message wouldn't have happened anyways, but it's just nice to see that the system actually can work, even though a lot of times it doesn't work. When by the system I mean filing a help ticket, communicating with an actual person at Kabam, which, let's be real, a lot of times that's just not possible, it seems. And then finding that right person who's willing to give you some honest, hopeful truth. So if you are not familiar with this situation, let me catch you up. In the past week or so, we had Kabam do something kind of weird. They didn't even announce it in the in-game messages, which is why I missed it at first. They gave bonus featured Cavalier crystals, the Uncanny, mostly mutant, though there are a couple other random champions thrown in Cavalier crystals with unit bundles. Some people chose to buy everything and get like 21 crystals. Some people like myself just chose to do an Odin. Some did a $5 deal. Some did a combination of both. And then when they opened their crystals, they weren't really the crystals they bought. Now, this surprised me because it's just something that you think, well, how's that going to be screwed up? It's one thing to screw up drop rates, another thing to screw up the wrong crystal. But then there were people who reached out to me. One guy in particular had a video where he showed a different reel than the reel he was promised. This led me to be like, well, I'll purchase $100 worth of crystals and see what happens. And then I did, and I got the crystals I was supposed to get. So eventually, Kabam somehow was able to figure out, which is also like kind of amazing to me, who got the wrong crystals and who got the right crystals. I got zero compensation, which, for the record, I did not deserve compensation. I was just being greedy and playing the odds because I was rooting for the wrong crystals, of course, because then everything I opened in those crystals became a bonus, and then the right crystals would hopefully come. By the way, apparently I'm allergic to saying the right crystals because I am about to sneeze. Just did. So, fast forward to when Kabam gives the people with the wrong crystals compensation. Well, we had more skepticism from the community because people reached out to me and said I didn't get the right number of crystals. And the community was like, these people are just being greedy. But I kept saying, look, if you're going to be greedy about compensation, you're not going to say I didn't get 3 of the crystals. You're going to say I didn't get 10 or I didn't get 15. But some of these people were literally, I bought 3, I got 1. And so they weren't trying to, scam. They were just trying to get what they paid for. And so one of these summoners is Mr. Chingo, who wrote a help ticket, and this is the response that he got. Thank you for contacting Kabam support to report an issue with the Uncanny Crystals compensation. We determined that the compensation we had provided to players via the in-game mail was incorrect. So line number 2, Kabam admits they screwed up. That's awesome transparency. That's not the classic copy and paste message they give you, which is, we have received a high volume of complaints about this and will currently maybe get back to you. The number of crystals that players received as compensation did not match the number of Uncanny crystals they had purchased. We understand. So again, acknowledge the mistake, acknowledge it a second time, empathy with we understand how concerning that is, and we thank you for taking the time to alert us to the situation. We thank you for taking the time to go through the proper channels to let us know of this issue with your account. We are investigating and will ensure that affected players receive the correct number of Uncanny crystals. So they're not done with the compensation. Who knows? Maybe there's some lucky person out there who does end up getting more crystals than they purchased, if anything. The bottom line is there was this skepticism since Kabam sent out to some people, and I want to say some, I'm sure some people got the right number, to some people getting the wrong number of crystals, that they were just done with this and that it didn't affect enough people to really do anything about it, and they were skeptical that Kabam was going to actually do what they paid for, and it just appears. Now, look, I'm not giving Kabam 100% credit. They legally are obligated to do this. They could face a lawsuit if they don't give proper items for what you paid for. But at the same time, I think they handled it in this message really well, and I do want to give them some love for that. This investigation will take a few days for us to complete and will likely not be able to provide any update until next week. However, we will update you and ensure that you receive the correct compensation as soon as possible. Another great line in the message. Thank you for your continued support of the Marvel Contest of Champions. We hope that you have a good rest of your week in the meantime. So, that's really good news to those of you who are still frustrated that you can get the right number of crystals. And yes, I know, like, it's tough when you talk about these forum posts because you have the people who perceive me as Mr. Negative, Mr. He's terrible for the community because he complains too much and does too many negative videos on Kabam, who are still going to see something like this and say, see, he's too critical. He's trying to make money, which, trust me, it's not that much money. He's trying to make money off of complaining about the game. And then you see people who say, good news, this is Kabam just doing their job. I don't think you should praise them for the minimal expectation, which I do think this message is better than the minimal expectation for the record. But, you know, I tell my journalism students all the time, I say, you know you're a real journalist when you piss off both sides. And I feel like every time I do like any kind of editorial on a forum post situation, somebody on both sides ends up being ticked off at me. But at the same time, look, I'm just going to give you my reaction. My channel is my channel. I'm not telling you to believe everything I say. Nothing makes me more annoyed than when somebody says, Prof, I enjoy your channel, even though I don't agree with everything you say. And my thought's always, thank God you don't agree with everything I say. Or else, that's not a channel, that's a different C word. Yeah, that's a cult. You don't, like, I'm not some Kabam prophet. I can't put the prof in profit, despite the fact that I'm a professor. I'm just a dude, right? I'm just a random dude who uploads content and gives you one perspective. I don't pretend like it's the all perspective or the full perspective. I don't pretend that it's always the right perspective. I would rather be wrong and tell you what I think is the truth than be right because I'm just trying to tell you what you want to hear. You know, I think that my channel is built on authenticity, and that authenticity is not always what people are comfortable with, but it is what I think most people are comfortable with. And as long as most people on this channel know that they can come to this channel and I'll give you what I truly see unfiltered, that's going to make me happy. I also think if you're not ticking anybody off, you're probably being too safe. And this channel is not about being safe, which is also why I always say every day I wake up, I sort of expect to check my email and I've got some alert from YouTube being like, yeah, your account doesn't exist anymore, and be like, well, that was fun. But until that day, knock on wood, I will continue to deliver content and hopefully give most people who watch my channel or subscribe to my channel or happen to click on a video something that they're thankful that they spent their very important time on. Because you could click on any video of any content creator and yet you clicked on this one, and I appreciate that because I know how precious your time is. And speaking of which, let's end this video here. Thanks for watching. Congrats to the people who filed these help tickets and actually got a great message in return. This is how the system should work, and in this case, I really do think it worked for the best.